Good afternoon. Welcome back.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes. Yoganand,
It is myself, Shanta Kumari, logged in from my son's laptop. That's why. Okay.
Okay. Great. So, any point or any reflection out of the topics that we have discussed? Yes.
There was.
Yeah, please go on. Whoever. Yeah, Shanta ma'am, are you saying something?
Yeah, like everything is, like an idea that we have assumed or, thought of. So may not be true actually. That is what I'm understanding right now.
Yes.
Many times we worry a lot, but it is our created idea. Like we only are suffering from our own thoughts. That's what I'm getting.
Yes, and the conclusion is the reason of that suffering. When we do conclude, and how can we not conclude? If I may ask that question, how can we not?
We have to inquire into how we got that idea.
Yes.
Inquire ourselves.
When we inquire, we do not have any option to conclude. Till the time we are inquiring, we cannot conclude.
Yeah.
Yes, Vinal, you were saying something?
So when we were discussing about the child who is getting conditioned from the external environment, and then as a parent, say if we are putting in some more another condition. So we had mentioned about how programmatically one is crafted to live unconditionally. So the child would be experiencing that conflict of conditionality in the first place that's coming from the environment, say for example. And but would the child be able to sense it, because that particular conditionality would be a conflict within, but outwardly the child may be perceiving it as some stimulated pleasure, as a pleasure rather than as a conflict. So
yes.
Can you throw some more light on this as to, because
right.
It's a contradiction of sorts, that it's a conflict even if it's an excitement, for example.
Yes. So if we can inquire into this aspect, that the child is in conflict because of conditioning, but the child is not sensing it, because there is a pseudo sense of pleasure in stimulated pleasure also, and the child or any individual for that matter is indulged with that stimulated pleasure. Now, if I endeavor to make him understand, will he understand ever? It cannot be. So this truth needs to be understood to begin with by myself, that I cannot make him understand unless he understands himself, right? So this is the first understanding with which I will not take a step to make him understand proactively, right? Now the question is that I am seeing my beloved person is being in a loop of unnatural pleasure and unnatural life. So how can I look at this? This is the primary question, right? How can I look at this, and how can I stay poised about it? Now, if we look at life at the closer perception, then we find the natural movement is all about balance, is all about homeostasis. Now, the child or the individual who is indulged into stimulated pleasure will come out of it naturally if all the conditions are loosened finally. I cannot unshackle him, but if the conditions are loosened, then he will come out of, he or she will come out of it on his own, on her own. This programmatic aspect is understood or not?
He may come out or he may not, and it may take time. We can't presume that he would, it may take much more time than I want him to take.
Yes. So we are not putting any duration timeline as such, but as a natural progression.
How does this condition get loosened?
No, that's a different thing. That's a different thing. We'll come to that later on. But whether there is a structural capability exists in the individual, that is understood or identified or not. Do you remember that in initial workshops we used to discuss about the placebo effect, placebo and nocebo effect? For the people those who have joined, let me share that story once again. It's about a deficiency theory. We are termed that we suffer from XYZ deficiency. XYZ deficiency means iron deficiency or whatsoever, the insulin deficiency, which is diabetes. So these kind of deficiencies are termed. So now, what is the rationale of considering these proposals a fallacy? I'll come back to Vinal's point. Let's hold there. So now, placebo and nocebo. Are you aware, Amrit and Shanta, about these two terms? Hi, Rajeshwari. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kalyan. Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes.
I'm
Good afternoon.
traveling en route, so I'll just stay on
Okay.
off camera.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Yes, Shanta, are you aware about these two terms, placebo and nocebo?
No, I'm not to that extent. I've just heard about it.
Right.
Not completely understood.
Right. Placebo is when one individual is not given with medicine, actual medicine, but some sugar pills, but was told that it is a medicine. Then the impact of the medicine is seen in that individual. You understand? Amrit,
Yes.
are you aware?
Yeah.
Yes, I know these terms.
Right. So placebo, Shanta, could you understand this placebo?
Yes. Yeah.
When one individual is given a sugar pill, but was
Yeah.
told that this is a medicine, then the impact of medicine is seen in that individual. This is called placebo.
Even if it is told it is a poison, if he takes it, he feels it is a poison and he may die. That is also a placebo effect only, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
nocebo is when one individual is administered with medicine, but is told that there is no medicine. Then the impact of the medicine do not happen on the individual.
Okay.
Right? So this is so far is considered about psychological capacity of an individual to overcome the impact of chemical. Right. So we had been taught about placebo, nocebo when we studied psychology, and it was proposed as a psychological capability of individual. because of the being convinced this has happened. But when you understand these P2, P1, P2, P3, three layers, then we understand that it is an aspect of P2. It is an aspect of P2. For example, you are not given with a painkiller, but you are under a tremendous pain. Then if you are given with a placebo and you overcome that pain, how that pain physiologically can be overcome. With a lot of experiments happened on this, and it was found that the brain has got the capability to create the painkiller like chemical within. Painkiller like chemical, and which actually physiologically helped the individual to overcome the pain. Similar goes for the nocebo. Suppose the painkiller is administered, then the brain creates and produces a chemical which is antidote to that pain and overcome the impact of the painkiller. This is understandable, this fact, this aspect.
Second part is not understood, sir.
Yes.
Second part.
Okay. Second part is like when the individual is administered with painkiller, actual painkiller, but is told that there is no painkiller available. Then then that impact of the painkiller doesn't happen on the individual. How that doesn't happen? Because the brain produces an antidote of painkiller and counters the impact of painkiller.
But now the question is whether a painkiller is there or not in the medicine.
Painkiller, yeah, painkiller. In the second case,
Pain-
this is the
Yeah.
nocebo case where the medicine, the painkiller is administered, but the
Okay.
individual was told that the painkiller is not there.
Okay.
Right?
So
Through the
the
saline water or some hypothetical situation.
Okay.
It just
uh,
you understand
so in
the
that case,
impact of
yeah, I got
medicine
it.
is overcome.
Yes. Yeah.
Impact of medicine is overcome by the physiology of the individual. Forget about the psychology. Forget about the psychology, that being convinced and all those stuff. Now, the core capacity of the organism to create a needful chemical, be it the painkiller or the antidote of painkiller. Can we just pick up this particular portion? Can you focus on this particular extremely phenomenal capacity of an individual to create and produce whatever is needed by the body?
That's really amazing.
This particular capability. So forget about the psychological conditioning, remove it. But this capability is a phenomenal capability of organism. So such kind of capability lead us to understand the fallacy of deficiency theory, that we don't need a specific supplement to compensate any deficiency of the body, because body is well capable to produce whatever is deficient. Just that I am not subject to starvation. If I am not starved, then my body will be able to produce whatsoever is needed by the body. That kind of tremendous capability that we have.
Is there a psychological contribution to that capability? Because as you are saying in the example of placebo and nocebo, because the mind was convinced that that is there or not there, as in,
Yes,
is it a medicine or not? Then is there a psychological aspect? If I will not believe, but if I I'm I'm thinking that this is not that this I do not need this supplement, and my body will make it, then it will make it, or without my understanding that also will it happen? Can it happen?
I'm trying to bring a focus on something specifically here, that be with the psychological conviction or without conviction. It is a core capability of individual physiology of producing whatever is needed. I'm trying to bring a focus on this. Whether
But
suppose
Kalyan, why
there is
some
no-
people are found to be anemic and very severely anemic? And the symptoms are also pointing that they are feeling weak.
Yes, yes. Yes, so anemia, if you anyway, we are drifting away from the topic,
Okay.
but then also let me address this question also as we raised, that if somebody is suffering from a deficiency of iron, it means that individual is also suffering from other imbalances of n number of chemicals within the body. If it is a lack of health, it's a state of lower health, then it will have a lot of orchestration of the elements within the blood. Something will go up, something will come down. So there is no denial that there will be a possibility of having a low grade iron in the blood. But what about the other elements which are not explored by human being? How the body is adjusting. So this orchestration is a part of management done by the body, done within the body. It's just a part analysis that we conclude that this is the iron deficiency, that is the reason, and we supplement it, and we end up complicating the situation more by giving this part input, not a whole input. When we give up iron tonic or iron tablet supplements as supplements, that doesn't get assimilated. It just reflects in the testing of iron. In the blood test, it will be coming up as the iron level is up. But otherwise, it is not assimilated within the body because it is a part. It is not the whole. Whole only is identified by the body. So those all are a little other discussion. But what exact discussion that we were having right now is that the physiological capability of making any needed substance within the body. That condition, just for a moment, forget about that condition. That psychological convincing shall be what you were bringing in. But if suppose I don't have legs, no matter how deeply I convince myself, can I run? For running, I need to have the structure of leg. I need to have the capability to run. Then only lot of convincing, this ideation, motivation, all this will work. So can we look at the core capability of an organism of transmuting and synthesizing the substances which is needed in the body? Are you able to comprehend, Shilpi, the point that we are trying to arrive at?
Yes.
The natural capability. What? Forget about the condition. Without the condition, also that can happen since the capability is there, innate capability. Without the capability, this would have not happened at all. The physiological capability we are trying to understand, and which is the primary point, Binal. The core capability of an organism to bounce back need to be understood to begin with. Then if we at all have a choiceless endeavor to bring an environment for the individual to recover, that could be possible only when we don't put any other choice as condition to the individual. Can we understand this thing, Biman?
Yes, it's innate in anyone actually to
That
come back
recovery is
to.
innate. That recovering capability is innate. Now, for the sake of our own satisfaction, momentary satisfaction, we may end up create a condition which will control the specific behavior of the individual for some time and may give us a pseudo sense of satisfaction that okay, now we have achieved something healthy for my child or for my beloved. But that is a very conditional change for some time, not a long term.
But this capability to bounce back would happen when the conditions get loosened. And how would that happen? I mean, unless the
So
person.
this is a very difficult question to answer as a general framework, but definitely that cannot happen with another condition. Can you understand this? How that can happen? How can that happen? This is a difficult question to answer because it cannot be given with a general framework which fits for all. But definitely that will not happen with another condition whatsoever, if I may propose or you may arrive at. Can you understand that? Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So this is a critical understanding. You know, the conditions cannot be overcome with another condition. Unless we understand it, we will be actually bluffing ourselves. For some time, we are actually fixing up the problem. This is as good as a paracetamol, suppressing the fever and considering that I got cured. Yeah. So, yeah. Shanta ma'am, you were saying something. I think it got suppressed somehow while I and Shilpi was conversing.
No, I got convinced that the mind is having that capability to produce the required, components or whatever it is required in the body. But again, I'm confused with how actually it understands all this. How it
Actually,
works like this? How it works like that?
yeah, how it works, it's a far more deeper aspect, and case to case basis we can dive deeper onto those aspects. But what we are trying to understand at this point is that definitely it cannot be overcome with another condition. If one is one is conditioned overwhelmed way, that cannot be overcome with another condition. We put
I'm
another
convinced.
condition. Yes. So let's go step by step towards that. That condition cannot uh, dissolve other conditions.
Kalyan, you were mentioning that conclusions should not be made, but at every moment, some conclusion has to be reached to. I mean,
Yes.
moment to moment, we do
Yes. Yes.
make conclusions.
First of all, there is no should
Mind
not.
makes conclusions.
Yeah. If I have used the word should not, I would
No,
like to.
like you were reflecting upon it, ki,
Right.
mind
I
should not
understood. I
conclude.
understood. But just for a general understanding, I just wanted to reconfirm that here we are not talking about anything should or should not.
Sure.
We are trying to understand that. Yeah. So, what was your question? Can you repeat it once again?
Yeah, you were mentioning that conclusions, mind should not stick to the conclusions.
No, we were
But
discussing that
every moment, yeah.
if we conclude,
Hmm.
then actually we are creating a loop for ourselves. This loop. The conclusion means it is this loop. The meaning of conclusion is any idea which has come to my mind, I have considered that as truth. So convincing a portion of truth or maybe truth as truth is the conclusion. This is what is the conclusion. Right? Now, what you are saying that we have to conclude moment to moment many things. Now, that what we mean here actually is the action, is about the action. Any action which we may opt to take that may look like a conclusion. Whatsoever the action that we are taking up. Suppose I'm picking up this bottle and drinking water. This may look like a conclusion that yes, at this point, Kalyan has concluded to drink water, to sip water, whatsoever. Now, these natural sequences, natural selections, and natural movement may look like conclusion, but what is the impact there at the sensational level? That will define whether it is actually a conclusion or not. So, for example, next week we are coming to Bangalore for a workshop, and we got our tickets booked. Now, this may look like a conclusion because the tickets are booked. So it's definitely looking like a conclusion. Now, whether it is a conclusion or not, that will be understood. Suppose something happens and we have to cancel the trip. We have to cancel the trip. At that point in time, what is the inner sensation of the individual? What is the inner sensation of that individual? If the individual is in depression, that it was so aspired trip, but it got cancelled. So that sensation will prove that it was a conclusion. Are you able to comprehend, ma'am? So the conclusion is very fact of the sensation, whether it is an ideated sensation in your steps, in your actions or not. So any action which doesn't bother us of taking that action or not taking that action. This is very important understanding. Any action, if it doesn't bother us, taking it or not taking it, this will not bring a confusion within. This is actually the actions are rational when it is inaction. Inaction, akarma. Inaction means a spontaneous action where there is no remorse or pride of taking it or not taking it. That means there is no conclusion about the action in the mind of individual. That it is a great action, it's a great humanity work that I am doing, or it's a very pity work, I should not do it. Whenever that opinionated conclusions are coming, that time it's not a rational action, it is a sensational action.
So all this is possible only if one has a very broad vision and a broad understanding about life. Just saying that I will not make conclusions.
When can we have a broader understanding? Yes, what you are terming is absolutely needed, but the question goes further deeper. What makes one's understanding getting broadened? Understanding
Day to day.
Yes, ma'am.
Day to day challenges also, and the life itself will facing the life itself. When we are making conclusions, our inside is not peaceful. It is turmoil is there. But when we are able to, like you were mentioning about a karma feeling while doing the karma in action, in the action. So when we are in that state, one feels more energetic to do the action, and as well. So does that experience will count in such cases?
Yes. So now, can we fake a state of akarma? We can never, right? we cannot fake a state of aparma. That can be achieved only when an individual has got a broadened understanding, as you term. Now, what is this understanding? The understanding will be broadened only when the perception of an individual is expanded. How the perception of an individual can be expanded? Only with a higher energy level. Because this perceptory capability is driven by the energy only. If I am depleted by my energy, how can I have a broadened understanding of anything? And primary depletion happens here in this particular loop, where we keep on opinionating the things, we keep on concluding the things in our own terms. There is no actual truth in it, but we create some truth in our ideas and we start believing it. It's a consistent contradiction that we bring into our life, which will deplete and keep on depleting our energy, and we are left with a minimal amount of energy. And with that energy, how can we go for understanding even? How can we look at the things even? We are completely guarded with all these looping. So if we cannot look, then how can we understand?
So these small changes of dietary changes, they may not be significant if these loops are not understood and explored.
And those changes will be absolutely byproduct when we can dissolve these loops. And that dissolution only is the thing that we are trying to decipher in this workshop. That how can we dissolve the psychological looping? I think we have 2 minutes. So characteristics of conflict is the next topic that we'll start with in the next session. So I'll just give you a prelude. If anyone is having any reflection, we can take up that. Otherwise, I'll just give you a prelude for you to go deeper into this 5 minutes of silence. See, we started with this particular one, number 1, from P3 to P2. It is coming from P3 to P2. An idea, we conclude and bring a sensation. Now that goes back from P2 to P3 as a natural progression. So this sensation, which was coming from a perception, will strengthen back the same perception. And this will continue. This becomes a loop in itself. So 1 and 2 are back to back happening repeatedly. Now similar loops are happening here also. So we'll explore that when we come back in the next session with 5 minutes of silence.